Have you ever imagined how destiny can weave unexpected love stories? Today, let's delve into the love story of the banker and the maid. A story that not only challenges social boundaries, but also reminds us that true love knows no boundaries. After all, who doesn't dream of a deep connection and a love that transcends all barriers? Stay here with me and let's go. Henry was a very famous banker, known for being super successful in business. Everyone respected and admired him. His professional life was going well, but the same did not happen in his love life. He was always lost in sad thoughts, often caught by his co-workers staring into space, remembering the difficult relationship he had with his ex-wife. Even though he was handsome and a millionaire, he no longer wanted anything to do with love after his marriage didn't work out. He was so focused on his business that he no longer wanted anything to do with romantic relationships. He had given up on finding someone who truly loved him. One day his friend Nathan, who was married but not very faithful, said, "Henry, you need to see the new maid my wife hired. I would do anything to be with her." Henry, a little embarrassed by the comment, replied, "Nathan, you are married and your wife loves you. I don't want to sound annoying, but you shouldn't think like that. Your wife doesn't deserve this." Nathan, still smiling with a mischievous look, replied, "I just don't stay with her because she doesn't give me confidence." If only it could, my friend. Whenever Nathan met Henry, he would talk about how beautiful the maid was. Henry and Nathan were not just partners, they had been friends since they were teenagers, and Henry was even best man at Nathan's wedding. In celebration of another year of marriage, Henry was invited to dinner at Nathan and Bea's house. They received him with great affection. While Bea finished arranging everything for dinner, Nathan pulled Henry to a corner of the room and said, "My friend, get ready to see the most stunning maid of your life. A rare beauty. Believe me." Henry was upset once again by his friend's lack of consideration. While Henry was thinking about Nathan's unfaithful behavior, a beautiful young woman began to set the table for dinner. Henry, still upset by Nathan's actions, observed the maid's beauty. She looked like a painting, her black hair contrasted with her bright green eyes, and her mouth seemed to be begging for kisses. Faced with so much beauty, Henry held his breath. Nathan, noticing that his friend was stunned when he saw the maid, said, "Did you see what I said?" "She's a beauty of a woman, Henry," exclaimed Nathan, all excited. "But she is a serious woman and doesn't respond to the looks I give her. What a shame. We could have a great time together." Sammy was indeed very beautiful, but her character was even more admirable. Born into a simple family, she was taught to value respect, friendship, and love. Respecting herself and others was crucial for her, and she did not accept relationships with people who did not share these principles. Sammy acted like she didn't see when her boss tried to approach her without saying anything, but she needed the job. As long as he didn't get too close, Sammy continued to hide when she noticed the strange looks. Furthermore, his wife, Bea, was an excellent boss. She thought the boss didn't deserve such a bad husband. Henry, in turn, even though he didn't agree with his friend's attitude, who should respect his wife, had to agree when he saw the maid, who was a woman of unique beauty. Henry was enchanted at first sight and felt a strong desire to love her and be loved in the same way. That feeling he had put aside. But something changed inside him when he met her. That night, in bed alone, Sammy's beautiful eyes never left his head. He was so impressed by that beautiful woman that he started having dreams about her, dreaming about Sammy smiling at him, serving him and caressing her face. It was as if Sammy was the maid who attended to him, doing everything he asked, but at the same time she was the mistress of his deepest feelings. These dreams repeated several nights, as desire exploded in Henry's heart. Henry increasingly felt the desire to get to know that woman better. He was torn between two opposing feelings. On the one hand, he didn't want to get romantically involved with any woman because of a marriage he didn't work out. On the other hand, his heart longed for the love of Sammy, the most beautiful and enchanting maid he had ever seen. Nathan told Henry several times that Sammy wasn't the type to be fooled by the talk of people he wanted to win over. He needed to find a way to get closer to her without her rejecting him. Until he had an idea. For a few nights, he parked the car near his friend's house when Sammy was leaving work and followed her without her noticing. He watched her every step to the house where she lived. Based on all the information he got, Henry waited for an opportunity to make it seem like he found Sammy by chance. After a few days, this chance appeared. One night, Sammy left the pharmacy with some groceries and was walking near her house when a man approached her. In fear, she backed away and screamed for help. Henry got out of the car without thinking twice and faced the man, who ran down the dark street. Sammy, who was scared in the corner, after calming down, thanked him very much for coming to help her, saying, "Thank you. If you hadn't shown up on time, I don't know what would have happened." After Sammy calmed down, Henry said, "My name is Henry, but I think I already know you from somewhere." "You work at my friend's house," said Henry. She looked closely at his face and replied, "Now I'm remembering your face, sir." "Henry," he repeated, continuing, "I think I should take you to your house, miss, because that man might want to follow you." Henry accompanied her to the gate of the house. Afterwards, Henry thought to himself, "Good thing I was taking care of her. If I hadn't been there at that moment, that man could have done something bad to her." The next day, Henry went to the friend's house to check on Sammy. He told the couple what happened, but didn't mention that being there at that moment wasn't a coincidence. Bea was scared by what happened and thanked Henry for the help that Henry gave his maid. After a few minutes of conversation between them, Sammy shyly appeared in the room. When Henry saw her looking at him affectionately, she felt a shiver throughout her body. She looked into his eyes, which was very special for Henry. As a businessman, Henry knew that the way we look at someone can make all the difference in the outcome we want to achieve. He managed to get her attention, which was a great start for someone who didn't have much hope of success. Henry approached her and asked, "Did you sleep well last night, Sammy?" "Yes, sir. I'm fine, thanks for your help," she replied. He smiled, said goodbye to everyone and left. That night when Sammy got off work, Henry was waiting for her. When she passed by the car, he called to her, "Sammy, let me take you home, please." Surprised, she happily accepted the ride. After the scare she had the night before, she was too scared to walk alone in the street. Night. Along the way, the two talked about various things. She began to like how safe she felt around him, the pleasant conversations and his gentle and respectful manner. And so it was for several following nights. She was now eagerly awaiting the moment to meet him. These meetings were becoming like a habit for her. She was starting to like him more than she should. But she didn't have much hope. He was rich, and she was just an ordinary person. So Sammy knew that being treated kindly by a businessman was all she could hope for. And nothing more. It was another night when Henry was waiting for her near work, but this time Sammy was visibly sad. Henry noticed that she was quiet and distant, so he asked, "Is there a problem?" Gathering her courage, she replied, "Henry, please tell me the truth. Why have you been coming for me all these days?" He stopped the car, turned to her seriously and said, "Do you really want to know the truth? I've been completely in love with you since the first day we met, Sammy. I just wanted to know if there's any chance of having you by my side." She looked at him sadly and replied, "We can't get involved, Henry. Our lives are very different and our realities are far apart. You live in a world of wealth, greed and superficial things, while I am from a class that many despise. What future can we have together? People will laugh at you for being with a maid." Henry was not shaken by her words. He knew what he wanted and was determined to achieve it. "Sammy, my love, I am someone who understands the value of money and knows the environment in which he lives. You are a maid today. But tomorrow, when you become my wife, they won't care where you come from, but how you present yourself. They won't see you as a pretty maid, but as a banker's beautiful wife. My wife, if you accept. Confess that you want me to. I see in her eyes that you want me to. She smiled and kissed him. In fact, she was also already in love with that handsome man. She just didn't have the courage to admit her love right away, because she was afraid because of her social differences. But who said that love chooses class or financial status? It happens in the most beautiful way possible, in the hearts that connect. Henry soon decided to tell the news to his friends, Nathan and Bea. He would like to announce that, from this night onwards, Sammy was no longer his maid, but his future wife. She was radiant with happiness. Nathan, in particular, said, "You're smart, huh?" He hid his intentions all the time. In fact, after marriage, Sammy was introduced to high society as the beautiful wife of a banker, no longer as the pretty maid. Over time, the differences in social background became just a distant memory as the love between them continued to grow. Together, they faced challenges and celebrated achievements, always united by the strong bond they shared. And so, Henry and Sammy lived happily ever after, proving that true love transcends social barriers and that, when two people love each other deeply, they can build a bright future together. Did you like this moving story about Henry and Sammy, which proves that love overcomes any obstacle? So don't miss the story of the businessman who fell in love with his nanny. Click here to watch and be enchanted by another unexpected love story full of emotion. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any exciting content like this. Thanks for watching and see you soon.